Hey, good morning, family. Reginald Martin here, Kemetic Center Living, where ancient wisdom meets modern awakening. Did you know that your soul, or do you know how to recognize when your soul is trying to train you? That's what the soul is always doing. That's one of the reasons why you incarnated here on earth, okay? And I want to talk about, put this in the context of a powerful process or a way we can process this information that'll help you along your journey. So one of the things and I'm going to talk about this again in the context of synchronicity, because that's one of the first ways that we can start to recognize that we're getting communication from the universe, So one of the things I always have to talk about too, well, not always, but I usually talk about is how we were trained as Christians, okay? And a lot of times as Christians, we were trained not to trust our bodies, okay? Our bodies were a detriment to spirituality. And we were always trying to transcend our physical life and different things. The way I'm talking about this knowledge here is from a Kemetic perspective, with the idea that you are a seed or a spark of the Creator in human form, okay? You are it and it is you. So that soul seed that you are is trying to train the instrument of you in the physical, or you in the physical is the instrument that the soul uses to learn and really gain its godlike power. So I like to say that we're all here on earth, that we're gods and goddesses in training. So when the soul is trying to communicate with you, it does so very subtly, and it's like it doesn't force things on you. You have to turn to it in a way and recognize what's happening for yourself, and then surrender or submit to it, okay? And when I say surrender or submit, that's not necessarily a passive thing. It's just being open to the soul speaking to you, okay? To the soul communicating with you in different ways. The only way that can happen, family, is through our physical body. You cannot be spiritual without going through your physical experience. It's impossible because you're here, okay? So we were taught in a way that disconnected us, We were taught to not trust our physical being for any number of reasons. But we're born sinners, wicked, broken, all those things we're taught. It ends up putting a wedge between us and our ability to be open to our soul level communication. So that's what I want to do, is to help you connect to that soul level communication. So one of the ways that I was trained was through the numbers, and a lot of us and a lot of you have been talking about. You see numbers 111, 222, 333, 444. Another one of my numbers is 1717, 1919. So repeat numbers is one of the quickest ways that we can start to recognize this universal synchronicity and guidance. So a few years ago, I'm a big Dallas Mavericks fan, Dallas Mavericks basketball fan in the NBA, and they were in a championship series. My soul used that game or one of those games, or no, actually a couple of those games, to train me to look for the number 444. Now, people say, well, basketball ain't spiritual. The hell it ain't. Family, we are spiritual beings having a human spirit, a human experience. Everything we do is spiritual. It is religion that taught us that we're supposed to separate the two. In the ancient Kemetic teachings, there is never a separation, and everything is connected via vibration. Everything. That is the connector. So when you understand yourself as a vibrational being, you can't separate vibration from who you are. That means life experience cannot be separated from who you are, okay? So life experience, all of it, good or bad, positive or negative, is spiritual knowledge and information, all right? All right, family, so I wanted to make an addendum here on the soul and training. So I said that the soul wants to train you. Now, why? Okay. So part of the ancient wisdom is that as souls, we incarnate to learn. So Earth is a training ground. It is, and I've said before, it's a simulation. And you are the projection of the soul into the physical. But it is what it is doing is helping you to recognize that the simulation, that you have power over it, okay? This is where the ancients, you've heard the term, life is an illusion, okay? And what the ancients mean by that, they're not saying that life is not real, because every experience that you have is very real. The illusion is that you are powerless over the simulation, that you're powerless in your life, okay? That you can't create the life that you want. So that's what the soul is doing, is it is helping you to overcome your fears, your doubts, anything that is happening in the simulation, okay? You're having relationship troubles, because you might have been abandoned when you were young and you're afraid of an abandonment. The soul is going to help you with becoming whole and healed, okay, with that fear. So the idea is that you are being trained to recognize that you have absolutely positively nothing to fear inside the simulation, okay? That's what the soul training is about, okay? I teach these ideas in my course, Kemetic Soul Level Operating System, whereas one, helping you unlearn the old religious programming, but doing it in a way that you see where these ideas came from, okay? They're not just something that Christianity twisted a lot of the teachings, the ancient teachings, okay, that it came from. But all of these teachings is basically to help you to overcome your fears. And I like to go back to the Bible a lot of times because it's really esoteric knowledge or hidden knowledge. And the idea of the miracle of Jesus walking on water is actually about a natural emotional state that we all go through. That when the water symbolizes or can symbolize emotions. And in this case, Jesus was walking on water in a storm. Well, it's the storms of our emotions, okay? It's when emotions are turbulent within us, we're going through a storm. Well, when you figure out that you have the power to control your emotions and to control the outcome or whatever it might be, at that point, that's like an aha moment. The light comes on. And what Jesus represents in this case is the light, the wisdom that comes on and allows you to rise above your emotions and walk on your emotions, okay? Or in this case, walk on the water, but you're rising above your emotions. It is a common experience that we all have. And that's what the soul is training you to do, is to be able to walk on water in a sense and rise above your emotions, okay? So that's it. That's the addendum, family. Just giving you some more general ideas about what you're learning as a soul. And the synchronicities, they can train you. They can train you to basically rise above your emotions. My number 444, whenever I see that number, I get calm, okay? I rise above whatever my doubts and my fears might be, okay? And the soul trains you on that. So the way that the soul trained me was, man, I was into the game. I mean, man, it was happening. And, the Mavericks, this particular game, the Mavericks were losing big time. They were down double digits. And this was in the fourth quarter. And man, I'm on the edge. I'm like, dang, man, are these guys gonna lose? No, they can't lose, So I'm like, man, they gotta do something. So, so I'm heightened emotionally, man. I'm into the game. And with about, I don't know, I can't remember exactly. It's probably about 3 or 4 minutes left. They called a timeout. Family, when they called the timeout, the clock, the time clock read 444. Okay. Now, and I was aware of numbers and stuff, but it wasn't necessarily 444 wasn't necessarily a number for me. But I recognized the 444. Okay. And so I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh wow, 444. So ended up, the game went on a little bit further, and man, they were down like about 13 points, and they made this miraculous comeback. And I ended up winning the game. All right. So right there, I made a connection with it. And when I made that connection, I was like, so I saw 444, and then they won the game. At that point, I was like, I wonder if that meant something. Okay. So that was me having to turn to my soul, turn to my inner wisdom, my soul level knowledge, and start to ask a question. I wondered, did that mean something? Okay. Let's go 2 games ahead in the series. And all of a sudden, again, the Mavs were down a little bit. They weren't down as much as they were, but they stopped. They called a timeout. And guess what it said on the clock? 444. So I said, okay, that means that they're going to win this game. Okay. So I put out the positive vibe, whatever. And family, sure enough, they won the game, 444. All right. So at that point, I started to trust that when I see 444, that means something positive and good for me. So now you can look those numbers up in angel number dictionaries and stuff like that, and they're going to give you standard meaning for them. And they can work for you, okay? But if you only accept the standard meaning, then essentially what you're doing is accepting somebody else's interpretation, or in a sense, somebody else's experience, spiritual experience for your own, okay? And that's really one of the ways I characterize religion, is that we accept the spiritual experience of men from 2,000 years ago, because we read the Bible and accepted what the Bible said, okay? As truth, law, whatever. But having that happen, or I'm saying to you, so don't get lost or locked into one definition, because there's an infinite number of ways that number can have meaning for you. So you have to recognize that sometimes the definitions might not fit the situation. Now, with 444, what that's come to mean for me now is anytime I see that number, family, I can mentally relax and know that all is well. Everything is okay. Okay? And invariably, when I see that number, it might be I'm stressed out about something, or I'm anxious about something, or I have my doubts about something. And when I see that number 444, that's my signal from the universe that all is well. You don't have to be stressed. You don't need to be you don't need to doubt. You're gonna win. That's one way you can interpret that. Okay, but that again, I gained that understanding with that number, and more times than not, when I see that number, family, everything does work out. Everything is okay. Everything is all well, you know? It over and over and over. But I had to be open to the communication because synchronicities are about you and your subjective belief about them every single time. Hey family, so a quick addendum to the video here, and I wanted to talk about how beliefs are so important, understanding how your beliefs construct your reality and really ends up choosing the timelines that you end up traveling down. In other words, your beliefs end up causing you to have an emotional state that chooses the timeline that you flow down on that wheel of time. Okay, so this is it. So when we're talking about beliefs, understand that your beliefs trigger your emotions. Okay, and 99.5% of the time, your beliefs about something triggers your emotion. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say I can speak another language other than English. Okay, let's say I know a lot of Spanish cuss words. So I've always knew, you know, the words I could cuss people out in Spanish. But let's say you have no idea what those cuss words were, and I just smiled at you and said a cuss word in Spanish. You know, most times you're probably going to say, huh. Well, you might look at me and go like that. Why is this weird looking dude smiling at me? But beside that, if I smile at you, then you're probably going to smile back, and you're going to be like, oh, what a nice guy, you know. But I'm cussing you out in another language. But your cues, you have no attachment to the definition of those words that I'm using because they mean nothing to you. You don't have a frame set around those words. If I said the same thing in English, of course you have a frame and understanding of what that word is. You have a belief surrounding that word, okay, or words. But if you have no belief around those words, then you're not going to trigger any emotion. Or your cue is going to be my smile, and you'll just smile back. So your belief about the words, your culture, whatever it might be about the word, is framing how you're going to react to it. Okay? So beliefs, then emotions, then imagination is going to merge with your emotions to give you the picture of whatever you need, okay? Or whatever is in your mind, okay? So beliefs always trigger. And that's why I'm so adamant about helping you to understand how Christianity has negatively framed so many of our beliefs, you know, around so much of our life. And if you have a negative belief system around yourself, then you're not going to even be able to trust the signals that you get from the synchronicities, because you won't trust yourself. You automatically go to, I'm flawed and broken. Now, you might not say those words, but you have a whole layer underneath in that belief system that you and your mind, your body is not to be trusted. Okay? All based on the idea that you've accepted a belief, that we accepted beliefs, a belief that we were born sinners and flawed. We were wicked, blah, blah, blah. All that it frames so much of our life. And if we never, ever examine those beliefs, then they're just running underneath every part of our life, choosing our relationships, choosing our jobs, whether or not we think that we can get the job, whatever it might be. All right, family? So it's important to recognize how your beliefs are going to really frame your reality for you. And you're going to realize the life that you believe based on how you emotionally, based on your emotional states that you're going through in any given day about any events in your life, okay? But your soul can be sending you signals and you never notice them, okay? So you have to use, and with synchronicities every single time, family, you have to use your logical mind to connect the dots intuitively, okay? So 444, I knew that number meant something, okay? You know, it had a synchronistic meaning for me, but I had to intuitively connect it to the idea that when I see that number, I win, okay? It had to show me that the Mavericks won, but now it's the meaning for me is that when I see the 444, I win. So, and this can be with any numbers, family. So any number sequence, it could be your birthday, it could be your mom's birthday, your husband, your brother, you know, any of these numbers can gain meaning for you depending on your personal and subjective experience. You can accept them as communication from the universe or not, okay? But understand that the soul is always trying to communicate with you in many different ways. So, you know, so this is just to understand that when we were religious, we basically had our spiritual experience really hijacked, and we had it framed one way. And when I say framed one way, everything was about Jesus or God, and you know, it was coming from Jesus or God, or could that be coming from the devil? You know, so that's how we had to think. But as soon as you start to limit the possibilities, it limits the possibilities, okay? So this is a very, very powerful way to start to recognize how the soul actually trains you on your synchronicities, you know, your symbols for your synchronicities. And it happens all the time. So when you start to notice something, first of all, you have to become aware of it. You have to become aware of the symbol. I was in a heightened state of a heightened emotional state when I noticed 444 because I wanted my team to win. And then I saw 444. I'm like, oh, I know that means something, but what? And then when they won, I was like, oh, 444, because you immediately get like this connection, you know, to that number. It's like you ask the question, and then all of a sudden, poof, that clock popped back in my mind, okay? The 444. And when that clock popped back into my mind, that's how I made the connection, okay? Does that make sense, family? Let me know in the comments, you know, if if it's making sense to you. But that's how it does. So, but it happens, and the soul trains you, and you can start to develop synchronicities yourself. It's just about what you want them to mean. Okay, family? All right, family. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on my walk. This is Reginald Martin of Kemetic Centered Living. I am out.